The holographic display flickered to life in Ambassador Sarah Chen's office aboard the Terran diplomatic station New Horizons. Her morning ritual of reviewing cultural exchange reports was interrupted by an unauthorized override of her communication systems. The crimson insignia of the Xeraxian Empire materialized, its sharp angles casting an ominous red glow across her normally serene workspace. "Mandatory viewing protocol engaged," announced an artificial voice, as the station's AI complied with the override. Imperial broadcast commencing. Chen straightened in her chair, her diplomatic training kicking in even as anxiety crept up her spine. In her 15 years representing humanity to the galactic community, unauthorized broadcasts had never preceded good news. The Empire's High Chancellor Vex Thor appeared, his crystalline exoskeleton gleaming under the lights of what she recognized as the Grand Assembly on Xerax Prime. Behind him stood rows of various species, and Chen's heart nearly stopped. Among them were the distinctive environmental suits of the Terran Medical Corps. 75 human doctors and nurses who had volunteered to help contain a devastating plague on the Empire's outer worlds, despite Chen's warnings about the Empire's growing hostility toward independent humanitarian missions. "Today, we cleanse our realm of those who would undermine Imperial authority through the guise of assistance," Vex Thor's translated voice boomed. "These individuals have been found guilty of spreading seditious ideas under the cover of medical aid." Chen's hands gripped her desk as she activated her quantum entanglement communicator, a technology the Empire didn't know humanity possessed. "Emergency Protocol Delta," she spoke clearly, knowing the message would reach Earth instantaneously. "They're about to execute our medical teams." On the display, Vex Thor continued his speech, but Chen was already pulling up classified files on her secure terminal. "Project Lighthouse, Operation Silent Shield, Protocol Prometheus. Contingency plans humanity had spent decades developing, hoping they'd never be needed. The Empire thought Earth was just another primitive species that had recently achieved faster-than-light travel. They had no idea that humanity had been preparing for this possibility since their first scans detected the Empire's existence. The execution was swift and clinical. Energy fields simultaneously stopped the hearts of all assembled prisoners, over 3,000 beings, including Earth's medical personnel. The Empire meant it as a demonstration of power. Instead, they had just triggered what humanity had termed the Threshold Protocol. Chen's quantum communicator chimed with an incoming message. The face of Admiral Helena Torres appeared, her expression grim but determined. "Ambassador, the Security Council is convening. Project Lighthouse is go. Do you have the broadcast recorded?" "Every frame," Chen confirmed, her voice steady despite the horror she just witnessed. "Including the encrypted metadata they thought no one could access. Our AI systems have already identified every Imperial official present and their roles in this atrocity." "Good," Torres nodded, "because this broadcast just gave us everything we needed. The Empire thinks they're teaching the galaxy a lesson about their power. Instead, they've given us the legal and moral authority to unveil everything we've built in secret." Chen allowed herself a small, grim smile. The Empire had just made a fatal mistake. They assumed humanity's relative youth among the galactic community meant inexperience. They had no idea that Earth had spent the last 50 years preparing for exactly this scenario. "Initiate Protocol Prometheus," Chen commanded her eye. Across human space, dormant systems began activating. Quantum entanglement networks that the Empire didn't know existed lit up with coded transmissions. Hidden shipyards, cloaked by technology reverse-engineered from a dozen different species, powered up their production lines. Most importantly, encrypted messages began reaching the 19 other species who had secretly allied with humanity over the past decades, smaller civilizations who had also recognized the Empire's growing tyranny and had chosen to place their trust in Earth's careful preparations. The Empire had just showed the galaxy their version of power, the ability to kill defenseless medical workers. Now humanity would show them a different kind of power, the power of patience, preparation, and carefully cultivated alliances. Send a message to High Chancellor Vexthor, Chen instructed her AI as she watched the recorded faces of Earth's murdered medical teams. Tell him humanity has received his message, and we accept his invitation to demonstrate our own definition of power. Across human space, hidden facilities hummed to life. Sleeper agents activated their protocols, and 19 different species began implementing plans that had been decades in the making. The Empire had wanted to make an example. They were about to learn that examples could work both ways. The Xeraxian Empire's central commerce exchange erupted into chaos as trading algorithms detected anomalies across thousands of systems simultaneously. Crystal matrix screens displayed cascading failures as seemingly unrelated financial instruments began collapsing in perfect synchronization. High Commander Ixal's crystalline appendages clicked against his control panel in growing agitation as reports flooded in. "Impossible," he muttered, watching as the Empire's carefully maintained economic web unraveled. "These systems aren't even connected." But they were connected, through pathways the Empire had never detected. Deep within Earth's Quantum Defense Command, Dr. Maya Patel watched her decades of work bear fruit. Her quantum-entangled economic warfare system, disguised as routine market fluctuations, was executing flawlessly. Operation Silent Thunder, Phase 1 complete, she reported to the assembled Earth Security Council. The Empire's economic neural network is compromised. They're about to discover that 43% of their supposedly secure trading systems were actually quantum shadows we installed years ago. Admiral Torres nodded in approval. How long until they realize this isn't a natural market crash? They already suspect something, Maya replied, gesturing to real-time intelligence feeds. But they're looking for conventional cyber attacks. They have no defense against quantum-entangled algorithms that were placed in their systems before they even met us. Across imperial space, seemingly solid economic foundations crumbled. Transportation networks ground to a halt as insurance algorithms detected phantom risks. Manufacturing planets found their supply chains mysteriously redirected. Most devastating of all, the Empire's precious strategic resource reserves began reporting catastrophic inventory errors. In his palace on Xerax Prime, High Chancellor Vexthor raged at his advisors. Find out who is responsible. No one attacks the Empire's economic heart without consequences. But finding the attackers proved impossible. Every trace led to dead ends. Every investigation revealed only more problems. The Empire had spent centuries building walls around their digital kingdom, never realizing that humanity had quantum tunneled underneath those walls long before making first contact. Back on the New Horizons station, Ambassador Chen received a priority message from Earth's Shadow Intelligence Director, Kai Yamamoto. Phase 2 is ready. Ambassador, shall we proceed? Chen thought of the medical teams she'd watched die, their only crime being the desire to help others. Execute Phase 2, she ordered. Across imperial space, dormant protocols activated in countless seemingly innocent commercial satellites. Quantum entanglement modules, disguised as standard communication equipment, synchronized their actions. In an instant, the Empire's much-vaunted surveillance network went blind. But they weren't truly blind. Instead, every camera, every sensor, every monitoring device began feeding them subtly altered data. Ships appeared slightly off course. Resource measurements showed minor discrepancies, and population centers reported small statistical anomalies. None of these changes were large enough to trigger alarms, but they were precisely calculated to compound the chaos already spreading through their economic systems. The Empire's mechanisms of control were being turned into instruments of confusion. They're responding exactly as predicted, Maya reported, watching the Empire's increasingly frantic attempts to restore order. Their hierarchical command structure is amplifying the disruption. Every attempt to impose control from the top is actually making the situation worse. Chen allowed herself a moment of grim satisfaction. The Empire had demonstrated their power through death and destruction. Humanity was demonstrating power through patience and precision. Every quantum-entangled algorithm, every carefully crafted economic phantom, Every subtly altered data stream had been placed years in advance, waiting for this moment. "Prepare for Phase 3, she instructed. "It's time to show the Empire why attacking humanity's humanitarian missions was their worst possible choice." In the depths of space, hidden shipyards began powering up. But these weren't preparing for conventional military action. The Empire expected a primitive species to respond with crude force. They were about to learn that humanity had evolved far beyond such simplistic reactions. The real power of humanity wasn't in weapons or wealth. It was in the ability to think in ways the Empire couldn't imagine, to fight battles on frequencies they couldn't detect, and to win wars without firing a single shot. As Chen watched the Empire's increasingly desperate attempts to restore order, she remembered something her mentor had once told her. True power isn't in making others fear you. It's in making them realize they never really understood you at all. The Empire was about to understand just how profound their misunderstanding had been. The Galactic Council chambers on Xerax Prime had never seen such chaos. Representatives from 100 systems demanded answers as their economy spiraled into confusion. High Chancellor Vexthor watched in mounting horror as one by one, supposedly loyal vassals of the Empire began announcing their independence. The Klavic Consortium withdraws from the imperial economic sphere, announced the Chidnus ambassador from a system the Empire had controlled for centuries. "We recognize the sovereignty of the Terra-allied independent systems." Before Vexthor could respond, the Murith Federation's representative rose. "The Murith withdraw from all imperial defense treaties. We stand with Earth and its allies." Ambassador Chen watched the proceedings through quantum-entangled feeds, accompanied by Earth's Shadow Intelligence Director Yamamoto. 19 declarations of independence in perfect synchronization, Yamamoto noted. "The Empire is discovering that their loyal subjects have been preparing for this day as long as we have." The Empire had never understood why Earth spent so much effort on humanitarian missions and cultural exchange programs. They saw it as weakness, never realizing that every medical team, every cultural attaché, every trade delegation had been building connections that ran far deeper than official imperial channels. Dr. Maya Patel's voice came through their quantum link. "The Empire's trying to activate their emergency protocols. They're about to discover that their backup systems have been compromised for years. Every supposedly loyal ally, every redundant database, every contingency plan has been quietly altered by our quantum infiltration." On screens across imperial space, the truth began to emerge. Earth hadn't just been preparing technologically. They had been weaving a web of alliances, building trust through actions rather than threats. The medical teams the Empire had executed weren't just humanitarian workers. They were symbols of humanity's approach to galactic politics. "Launch Phase 3, Chen commanded. Across former imperial space, hidden transmitters activated. The truth about the Empire's atrocities began broadcasting on frequencies the imperial sensors couldn't block. Every execution, every suppressed rebellion, every economic exploitation was revealed to species who had lived under imperial propaganda for generations. But more importantly, these broadcasts showed something else: hope. They showed how Earth and its secret allies had been preparing sanctuaries, building hidden supply lines, and developing new technologies that could free species from imperial control. "The Naxtol Collective announces its withdrawal from the Empire," another voice declared in the council chamber. "We invoke the protection protocols established with Earth." Vexthor's crystalline form vibrated with rage. "Earth cannot protect them. We have the largest fleet in the galaxy. Do you?" Chen's voice suddenly filled the chamber as she activated her public channel. "Are you certain about the size of your fleet, Chancellor? Perhaps you should check those numbers again." Across imperial space, quantum algorithms that had been dormant for years began revealing their work. Ship manifests showed subtle discrepancies. Fleet positions didn't quite match reported coordinates. Resource allocations for naval construction contained mysterious gaps. The Empire was discovering that their mighty fleet, like their economy, had been compromised by infiltration so subtle and so long-term that no one could tell where the genuine articles ended and the quantum shadows began. "You see, Chancellor," Chen continued, her voice carrying the weight of decades of preparation, "while you were busy showing everyone how powerful you were, we were showing them something far more important: how to be free." The chamber erupted again as more representatives rose to declare their independence. Each announcement revealed another strand in the web humanity had spent decades weaving. Each declaration exposed another layer of preparation that had been hidden beneath the surface of apparent human naivety. In Earth's Quantum Defense Command, Dr. Patel watched the Empire's networks collapse into chaos. "They're trying to trace the quantum infiltration paths," she reported. "But the more they investigate, the more compromised systems they discover. Every security sweep reveals another layer of subtly altered code, another corrupted database, another compromised system. Send the final signal," Chen instructed. Across former Imperial space, hidden shipyards began revealing themselves. But they weren't Earth shipyards. They belonged to the 19 allied species, built with quietly shared technology and carefully concealed resources. The Empire had thought they were crushing a primitive species that had overstepped its bounds. Instead, they had triggered the culmination of the longest, most patient revolution in galactic history. High Chancellor Vexthor stood in the Empire's Strategic Command Center, watching as his military commanders deployed the remaining reliable forces. The massive holographic display showed thousands of Imperial warships converging on Earth's solar system. It was time, he decided, to crush this upstart species with overwhelming force. "Launch the attack," he ordered. "Show these humans the difference between their clever tricks and real power." In Earth's Quantum Defense Command, Admiral Torres watched the Imperial fleet's approach with calculated calm. "They're moving exactly as predicted," she noted to Ambassador Chen. "Their pride wouldn't let them do anything else." Quantum shadow networks confirm the Empire's command and control systems are fully compromised, Dr. Patel reported. "They're seeing what we want them to see, communicating through channels we control, and responding to data we've crafted." The Imperial fleet emerged from hyperspace near Jupiter, their formation perfect, their numbers overwhelming. Vexthor allowed himself a moment of satisfaction as his commanders reported no sign of significant human defenses. Earth's system appeared virtually unprotected. Then reality shifted. What the Imperial sensors reported and what actually existed began to diverge in subtle but critical ways. Navigation beacons gave coordinates that were milliseconds off. Gravitational readings showed tiny discrepancies. Communication delays fluctuated by microscopic amounts. "They're attempting to engage quantum lock on our defense platforms," Dr. Patil announced, watching the Empire's targeting systems activate, initiating Protocol Mirage. The Empire's mighty fleet opened fire at targets that existed only in their compromised sensor readings. Their advanced targeting systems, infiltrated years ago by quantum algorithms, showed successful hits on human installations that were never there. "How long until they realize?" Admiral Torres asked. "They already suspect something's wrong," Chen replied, watching the Imperial fleet's movements become increasingly erratic. "But they can't tell what's real and what isn't. Every system they check shows them exactly what they expect to see, and that's what terrifies them." The Empire's commanders had trained all their lives to fight conventional battles. They knew how to handle electronic warfare, cyber attacks, and traditional electronic countermeasures. But they had no defense against an enemy who had compromised their ability to perceive reality itself. "Second wave of Imperial reinforcements arriving," announced the Quantum Defense. Just as predicted, Vexthor had committed his strategic reserve, unable to accept that his main fleet was being defeated by an enemy they couldn't even see. "Now," ordered Admiral Torres. Across the solar system, quantum entanglement nodes activated. The Imperial fleet's compromised systems began receiving new data. Data that showed their own ships firing on each other, that displayed phantom enemies appearing and disappearing, that revealed non-existent structural failures and system breaches. Panic spread through the Imperial ranks as ships began taking evasive action against threats that didn't exist, firing at targets that were illusions, and receiving damage reports from systems that were functioning perfectly. "They're breaking formation," Dr. Paddle reported. "Quantum shadows confirm total strategic disruption. Their command and control structure is collapsing." In his command center, Vexthor watched in horror as his mighty fleet disintegrated into chaos. Ships fled from phantom enemies. Commanders countermanded each other's orders as they received conflicting information, and coordinated defense became impossible. And then, finally, humanity revealed its real fleet. Hidden beneath quantum camouflage that the Empire's sensors couldn't detect, Earth's actual defensive forces decloaked. But they weren't alone. Ships from all 19 allied species appeared alongside them, their designs incorporating technologies shared through years of secret cooperation. "Send the message," Chen instructed. "On every Imperial ship, on every command channel, in every communication system." The same words appeared. "You tried to teach the galaxy to fear through death. We taught them to hope through life. Your move, Chancellor." The Empire's fleet, mighty on paper but blind and confused in reality, faced a choice: fight an enemy they couldn't reliably detect, using systems they couldn't trust, against an alliance they never knew existed, or retreat, and admit that their understanding of power had been fundamentally flawed. "Final phase standing by," Admiral Torres reported. "Should we show them everything we can do?" Chen thought of the medical teams who had died trying to save Imperial lives, of the decades of patience it had taken to reach this moment, of the careful balance between justice and vengeance. "No," she decided. "Let them retreat. Let them return to their capital and realize that everything they thought they knew about their own empire was built on quantum shadows we created. That will be a far more effective demonstration of power than any weapon could provide." The Imperial Palace on Zirax Prime had never seemed so fragile. High Chancellor Vexthor stared out over the capital city, watching as crowds gathered in the streets below. The quantum shadows that had compromised his military had done something far more devastating. They had revealed the truth to his own people. Every public display, every information terminal, every communication device now showed what the Empire had tried to hide. The execution of the medical teams played alongside footage of their work saving Imperial citizens' lives. Economic data revealed decades of exploitation. Military logs exposed countless atrocities committed in the name of Imperial stability. "The outer systems are declaring independence faster than we can track," reported his last loyal advisor. "Our remaining fleet commanders refuse to fire on civilian targets. The quantum corruption has spread too deep. They don't trust their own targeting systems." In Earth's Quantum Defense Command, Dr. Maya Patel monitored the cascading collapse of Imperial authority. "The quantum shadows are functioning perfectly," she reported to Ambassador Chen. "Every Imperial attempt to restore control only reveals more of what they've been hiding." "And the humanitarian corridors?" Chen asked, thinking of the lessons learned from those first murdered medical teams. "All 19 allied species are coordinating relief efforts," Director Yamamoto confirmed. "We're demonstrating exactly what the Empire feared, that cooperation is stronger than coercion." The Empire had built its power on the assumption that information could be controlled, that reality could be shaped by force, that fear was the ultimate authority. They never understood that humanity had spent decades proving all those assumptions wrong. A new message appeared on Chen's quantum-secure display. The Imperial Inner Council was requesting an audience, not to negotiate, but to surrender. "They're realizing that every system they try to use against us was compromised years ago," Dr. Patel noted. "Their weapons, their economies, their communication networks, all of them have been gradually altered by our quantum infiltration. They can't even trust their own records anymore." Chen stood before the quantum projection system that would broadcast her image into the Imperial Council chamber. But before she activated it, she turned to her team. "We've won," she said quietly. "But now comes the harder part. We have to prove that we're different from them. that we understand the responsibility that comes with this kind of power." The projection activated, and Chen found herself facing the Imperial Inner Council. Vexthor's crystalline form had lost its luster, his once proud bearing now haunted by the knowledge of how completely his empire had been undermined. "You could destroy us entirely," he stated. "Your quantum shadows control everything. Why don't you?" "Because that was never our goal," Chen replied. "Look at your screens. Across Imperial space, the broadcasts change. Now they showed new images. Earth hospitals opening their doors to Imperial citizens. Allied species ships delivering aid to Imperial worlds. Hidden sanctuaries welcoming refugees who had fled Imperial persecution. You showed the galaxy one kind of power," Chen continued. "The power to kill medical workers who were saving your own people's lives. We showed them another kind. The power to build connections you never saw, to forge alliances through trust rather than fear, to fight without destroying." "What are your terms?" Vexthor asked, his voice hollow. "Justice," Chen replied, "but not revenge. Your victims will have their say. Your crimes will be acknowledged. But we'll also help your people build something new from the ashes of your empire, because that's what those medical teams would have wanted." The quantum shadows began withdrawing, revealing the true state of Imperial systems. But they weren't removed entirely. They remained as silent witnesses, ensuring that the terms of justice would be upheld. In the streets of the Imperial capital, crowds continued to grow. But they weren't calling for destruction. They were demanding the same thing that Earth and its allies had spent decades preparing for: the chance to build something better. "Broadcast the final message," Chen instructed. Across every world that had ever known Imperial rule, the same words appeared: "The age of empires is over. The age of cooperation begins. Every world, every species, every individual now has the choice that the Empire tried to deny them. The choice to help write the next chapter of galactic history." Dr. Patel's quantum networks confirmed that the message was reaching every corner of former Imperial space. Director Yamamoto's intelligence feeds showed the response. Hope spreading like a wave across the stars. The Empire had tried to teach the galaxy that power came from the ability to destroy. Humanity had proven that true power came from the ability to transform. They had fought a war without weapons, won a victory without destruction, and changed the course of galactic history not through force, but through patience, preparation, and the unwavering belief that cooperation would ultimately prove stronger than coercion. As Chen looked out at the stars, she thought of those first medical teams. Their sacrifice had not been in vain. It had sparked a revolution that would reshape the galaxy not through death, but through life. Not through fear, but through hope. Not through control, but through choice. The Empire's broadcast of terror had been meant to show their strength. Instead, it had revealed their fundamental weakness and humanity's greatest power: the ability to imagine and then create a better way.